All right, ready for a deep dive. Today we're looking at this YouTube video, and it's a pretty interesting one, I gotta say.
Yeah.
This one's taking a look at Alzheimer's,
hmm
but through this, I guess you could call it like a mystical lens.
Yeah, very unique perspective.
It's bringing in Kabbalah
Mm,
and Rosh Hashanah.
that's right.
So I'm already intrigued.
It's a fascinating take that I think will make you kind of look at aging a little differently.
Yeah.
Maybe even how we view something like the divine, it brings that in too.
Well, let's start with some basics for those who might not know.
Sure.
Rosh Hashanah, what is that exactly?
Rosh Hashanah is the Jewish New Year.
Okay.
It's a time for reflection, repentance, renewal, all that.
Mm-hmm.
But what's really interesting here is how this video uses Rosh Hashanah to explain Alzheimer's.
To explain.
Yeah, they create this analogy.
Okay, I'm listening.
So they're saying that according to Kabbalah, God actually goes through something similar to Alzheimer's during Rosh Hashanah.
Whoa.
It's a pretty bold statement.
Yeah, that's a pretty heavy comparison to make.
Yeah.
So what are they saying? Like God's forgetting things?
Well, not exactly forgetting.
Okay.
It's more like during Rosh Hashanah, God withdraws divine energy or like intention from the world.
Okay.
So imagine like God kind of stepping back from creation for a bit.
Huh. So less about memory loss then,
Right.
and more about like a change in focus or energy.
Exactly. And this is where it gets really interesting.
All right.
They connect this to the stages of Alzheimer's that the video creator's father went through.
Hold on. How do they connect those two?
So they describe how their father first lost his speech, then became emotionally withdrawn, and then his reasoning started to decline
Mm-hmm.
until eventually he was really just focused on very basic needs and simple pleasures.
Okay.
And they see these stages as like mirroring God's withdrawal during Rosh Hashanah.
I mean, I see what they're getting at, but it's
So
definitely
it's unconventional.
very
It's
unconventional.
a unique take on Alzheimer's and a core concept in Jewish mysticism too.
So where does the shofar fit into all of this?
Oh, the shofar is a big part of this analogy.
Okay.
They point out that the sound of the shofar,
That ram's horn.
right, the ram's horn, it sounds very similar to a baby crying.
A baby's cry.
That,
Okay, I wasn't expecting that connection.
and that similarity, they say, is really key to understanding what the shofar is all about.
Really? So what's so important about that sound then?
Well, think about it.
Okay.
A baby's cry, it grabs your attention.
Oh, for sure?
It evokes this strong emotional response in us, right?
Yeah.
And it kind of cuts through any mental distractions we might have going on.
It's like a primal sound, like a wake-up call.
Exactly. It's like a visceral wake-up call.
But how does that connect back to God and Alzheimer's?
So they're arguing that the sound of the shofar is like a wake-up call for God during Rosh Hashanah.
Okay.
It reminds God of all the beauty and joy of creation,
Mm-hmm.
and it rekindles God's intention towards the world.
So it's like jolting God back into engagement with the world.
Yeah, precisely.
And that's just from a simple sound.
Right. And this idea that a simple primal sound can have such a huge impact,
Yeah.
that's where the video really gets interesting.
Okay. Now you've got me hooked. Tell me more.
Well, hold on. We'll get
Wait.
there. But first, let's take a quick break.
Sounds good.
So the video is saying this idea of reawakening, this kind of coming back to life through sound, through connecting with something primal and simple. It applies to us too.
So this isn't just about God and Rosh Hashanah. There's like a message here for everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Like, think about those times when you've felt really present, really alive. Maybe when you're listening to a piece of music that moves you, or spending time out in nature,
Yeah.
or even just playing with a kid,
Mm-hmm.
Those experiences usually have this simplicity to them.
Yeah.
Like you're just totally in the moment without all that mental chatter we usually have.
You know, that reminds me of something I've been thinking about.
What's that?
We always put so much focus on like our cognitive function,
Yeah.
especially as we age.
Right.
But what if like the video is suggesting there's a different kind of wisdom,
Mm-hmm.
a different kind of intelligence that comes out when we let go of all that thinking
Yeah.
and we just reconnect with our senses, with our emotions, with just being in the moment?
That's a great point. And it goes right along with what the video is saying about embracing simplicity
Mm-hmm.
and like reawakening our own inner child.
Yeah.
It's like we need to remember how to see the world with that same wonder and awe that kids have.
I love that, reawakening our inner
It's
child.
a powerful image.
It is, and it makes me think about how we tend to see Alzheimer's as this loss of self,
Yeah.
like a decline into oblivion.
Right.
But what if, like the video is saying, It's not so much a loss, but a shift,
Yeah.
a journey into a different way of experiencing the world,
Hmm.
one that's less about thinking and more about feeling, sensing, just being.
It's a pretty radical idea, isn't it?
It is.
To see Alzheimer's not just as this disease, but as a potential transformation.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder, what can we learn from this change in consciousness?
Right. Like, what if by embracing those parts of ourselves that we often ignore, our senses, emotions, connection to the present moment,
Hmm.
what if that could actually bring us more peace and fulfillment,
Yeah.
no matter our age or cognitive abilities?
Exactly.
I was really struck by how the video creator talked about their father in the later stages of Alzheimer's.
Yeah, what do they say?
They talked about how even though he couldn't really speak anymore,
Hmm.
he would still just light up when they played his favorite music
Oh, wow.
or when they just held his hand.
Oh,
It's like those basic human connections, they went beyond the cognitive barriers.
yeah, it's a powerful reminder that love and connection, they endure, even when someone's going through serious cognitive decline.
For sure.
And it makes us rethink how we approach caregiving. What if, instead of just focusing on cognitive stimulation, we thought more about creating environments that nurture those basic human needs for love, comfort, sensory engagement?
That makes so much sense. It's about meeting people where they are,
Exactly.
honoring their experience, and finding ways to connect on a deeper level.
Yeah.
This deep dive has really given me a lot to think about, especially when it comes to my own aging relatives.
It's definitely a perspective that encourages us to approach aging and cognitive decline with more compassion and understanding, maybe even a sense of reverence.
Yeah, I bet.
And actually, this whole idea of God's withdrawal during Rosh Hashanah, as they describe it in the video, it reminded me of another Kabbalistic concept, Tzimtzum.
Oh, yeah, we touched on that earlier.
Right.
Remind me what Tzimtzum is all about again.
So Tzimtzum, it's a complex idea,
Okay.
but basically it's the belief that God had to contract or withdraw himself in order to create space for the universe.
It's like he had to make room for something other than himself to exist.
So, in a way, creation itself comes from this divine withdrawal.
Yeah, that's the idea.
That's pretty profound.
It is, and it connects to this idea that even in absence, even in withdrawal,
Yeah.
there can be this generative power, this creative potential.
Huh?
It's like that seed that has to be buried in darkness before it can sprout and grow.
Wow, I like that analogy.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder if there's a link between Tzimtzum, this idea of God withdrawing to create the universe,
Yeah.
and the potential for growth and transformation that might be within Alzheimer's.
Yeah, like the video suggests.
Maybe they both point to this idea that sometimes letting go, withdrawing, even experiencing a kind of decline, it can actually create the conditions for something new to emerge.
That's a fascinating connection.
It is.
It makes you think about the cyclical nature of life, death, and rebirth.
Yeah,
That's in so many spiritual traditions.
right. Maybe
Yeah.
Alzheimer's
Yeah.
reflects that same cycle in its own way. Like a letting go of the old self to make way for something new, something unknown.
It's definitely given me a whole new perspective on Alzheimer's.
Me too?
Who knew we'd end up thinking about such deep questions from a YouTube video?
It shows you that inspiration and insight can come from anywhere.
That's true.
And it speaks to how powerful metaphors and analogies are.
Yeah.
They help us understand these complex concepts and connect ideas that seem totally different.
This whole conversation has been so enriching.
It has.
I feel like we've only just scratched the surface, though.
There's definitely more to explore,
Yeah.
but maybe we can take a moment to let all this sink in.
I agree. I think I need a quiet moment to process everything we've talked about.
Yeah.
It's amazing how one YouTube video can lead to so many different thoughts.
It's a good reminder that learning never stops, and it's full of surprises and unexpected connections.
Well said. I think we've given our listener a lot to think about.
We have, but before we wrap up, there's one more thing from the video that I think is worth talking about.
Oh, what's that?
So remember how the video talks about how we should try to see Alzheimer's?
Yeah.
It's not just like a tragic decline, but it could be a journey, like a transformation.
Right. Like it's challenging us to look beyond what we see on the surface and think, could there be a deeper meaning here?
Yeah.
Maybe even like a spiritual purpose in this whole experience of Alzheimer's.
Exactly. And that can be really powerful.
Yeah.
Both for the people going through it and the people caring for them. It changes how we approach this whole journey
Yeah.
with more compassion, more understanding, maybe even a sense of reverence.
You know, it's interesting how they use that sound of the shofar in the video.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's a wake-up call for God to
Right.
reconnect with the world.
Mm-hmm.
Makes me wonder, what are those shofars in our own lives?
Well, that's a good question.
What are those things that shake us up a little, get us out of our routines and all the distractions?
And remind us what really matters, you know?
I think it could be anything that really touches us on a deep level.
Yeah.
Anything that makes you feel awe, wonder, or a sense of connection,
Okay.
like music, art, being in nature.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even a simple act of kindness from someone.
I like that. It could even be that genuine connection with another person, like the video talked about with the father.
Exactly.
Sometimes, a touch, just looking at someone with love,
Mm-hmm.
it can say so much, even when we don't have the words.
It's true. It's about those nonverbal ways of communicating,
Yeah.
those heart-to-heart connections that go beyond words and thoughts.
It brings up a good point.
What's that?
The video touches on how we get so busy
Oh, yeah.
with life, with our to-do lists, with
Yeah.
staring at screens all the time,
Mm-hmm.
and we forget to just slow down,
Right.
to actually listen, to be present
Yeah.
with ourselves and the people around us.
It's easy to lose sight of those simple, meaningful moments of connection.
We're just bombarded with information and stimulation constantly.
Yeah. It's overwhelming sometimes.
And maybe, like the video suggests, it's in those quiet moments when we strip away all the distractions, when we just allow ourselves to be.
Yeah.
That's when we rediscover that wonder,
Yeah.
that connection, that sacredness of life,
Mm-hmm.
even when things are tough, even when things are changing.
This whole deep dive has been amazing.
It has.
We started with this YouTube video talking about Alzheimer's and Kabbalah,
Yeah.
and now we're talking about the power of sound, being present, the mysteries of consciousness.
It's wild, isn't it?
It really is.
Who would thought one video could lead to all these different ideas?
It just shows you that learning is an adventure,
It is.
full of surprises
Definitely.
and unexpected connections.
Well said. And to our listener, thanks for joining us on this journey.
Yeah, we hope this sparks some new thoughts and insights for you.
I want to leave you with one last thought.
Okay.
What are those shofars in your life? What are those things that wake up your senses, your heart, your connection to something bigger?
Yeah.
Pay attention to them,
Mm-hmm.
cherish them,
Yeah.
and let them guide you on your own path.
Beautifully said. Until next time, keep diving deep